In the soft evening light, Sophia and Thomas stood under the shade of an ancient fig tree in the city park, a place that had become a silent witness to their blossoming love. The air was charged with a mixture of expectation and desolation. While both faced the imminent storm of their lives, Sophia, with her eyes full of a mixture of hope and fear, held Thomas's hands, looking for a safe harbor for her concerns. "Thomas, I am pregnant." Sophia finally broke the silence, her trembling voice revealing the whirlwind of emotions that consumed her. Thomas stood paralyzed, his pale face reflecting the internal struggle he was waging. He had always dreamed of a career in Europe, an opportunity to escape the limitations of his hometown and become someone notable. And now that dream was within his reach, but at a cost that Sophia never imagined. "This changes everything," he started, struggling to find the right words. "You know how much this opportunity means to me. I could have a real opportunity out there, a career that I know—" Sophia interrupted, tears beginning to form in her eyes. "But us and this baby, Thomas, I'm not ready to be a father," he confessed, his voice almost a whisper. "I can barely take care of myself, much less a family." Sophia let go of his hands, wiping away the tears that were now running freely down her face. "I understand, Thomas, but I'm going to stay with the baby. I'm going to find a way." Thomas felt a sharp pain in his chest, like a part of himself was being torn away. "Sophia, please understand, this doesn't mean I don't love you. It's just that I know it," said Sophia, interrupting him through tears. "But maybe it's better this way. Maybe it's better if we go our separate ways." With those words, their fate was sealed. They hugged for the last time, a hug full of what could have been. Thomas left the next dawn, leaving Sophia behind, the woman he loved, and his unborn son in search of the dreams that called him. On the other side of the ocean, Sophia, now alone under the fig tree, looked towards the uncertain future that lay ahead of her. She knew that the road would be difficult, but when she looked at the sunset, she felt a strength emerging from within her. "We're going to be okay," she whispered into the wind, a promise to the little being that was growing inside her. And so, under the same fig tree that had been a witness to the love of Thomas and Sophia, each one separated following his own destiny, united only by the life they had created together. 20 years had unfolded like pages of a book, each chapter marked by difficult decisions, losses, and achievements. Thomas, far from the land that he saw growing up, had followed the path of medicine with an almost obsessive dedication. His name was now recognized in the hallways of prestigious hospitals in Europe, a realization of his youthful dreams, but at the cost of an almost non-existent personal life. He looked back with a mixture of pride and melancholy, questioning the price of his successes. Meanwhile, in a cozy corner of her hometown, Sophia had dedicated every day of her life to raising Jack, a vibrant young man with a generous heart and an indomitable spirit, who saw in her son the reflection of love that she had once shared with Thomas. Although the memories of those days under the fig tree brought her a pang of sadness, she never allowed herself to fall into despair. Sophia transformed her modest house into a home full of love and laughter, where the absence of a father was compensated by her unconditional love. Jack grew up listening to stories about his mother, a strong and independent woman who faced the world alone to raise him. However, Sophia always kept her father's identity a secret, a chapter of her life that she kept under lock and key, fearing that the truth would somehow destabilize the happiness they had built. Jack, for his part, rarely questioned his mother's silence on the subject, respecting the space that she clearly needed. Thomas, in his few moments of introspection, often wondered about Sophia and the son she left behind. He imagined if the boy looked like him, or if he had inherited Sophia's free spirit. In his mind, he rehearsed conversations and meetings, each ending with an apology that he never had the courage to make in real life. However, destiny seemed to have its own plans for this fragmented family. Thomas, feeling a growing void that his career could not fill, began to consider returning to his hometown, a place he had avoided for 2 decades, fearing facing the ghosts of his past. Sophia, on the other hand, continued with her life, unaware that the world was about to change, bringing with it winds of change that would challenge the foundations of their carefully constructed existence. While life continued its course, Thomas and Sophia lived in separate worlds, united only by the memory of a lost love and by the life of young Jack, who was about to become the unexpected link between them. The divergent paths they had chosen were about to converge in a collision that none of them could foresee. As night fell on the city, a symphony of lights and shadows danced across the bustling streets. Sophia and Jack, mother and son, shared laughter and conversations inside the car, a moment of joyful tranquility that sealed the closeness of their bond. Sophia, now with the years gently marking her youth, looked at Jack with a mixture of pride and melancholy. She had grown accustomed to life as they knew it, but it was shaken by the screeching of tires and the deafening noise of metal on metal. Sophia's car spun into a confusion of broken glass and darkness, a serious accident that none of them saw coming. In the midst of the confusion and hurried calls for help, ambulances arrived, rushing them to the nearest hospital, a renowned medical center known for its excellence in medical care. The emergency room was the same one where Thomas, now a successful and respected doctor in his field, was on duty that fateful night. While Sophia and Jack were hurriedly taken through the sterile corridors of the hospital, their lives hanging by a thread, Thomas was immersed in his work, oblivious to the fact that the most important people from his past were under the same roof as him, fighting for their lives. The paths of Thomas, Sophia, and Jack, separated by destiny for so many years, were about to cross again in circumstances that none of them could have foreseen. While Jack was being prepared for emergency surgery due to serious injuries, Thomas was called to lead the procedure, a decisive moment that would inextricably intertwine their lives. Concentrated and methodical, Thomas had no idea that the young patient in front of him was his own son, a secret kept by Sophia for 2 decades to protect Jack from the painful truths about his birth. And while he put on his surgical clothes, preparing to enter the operating room, destiny was waiting, ready to reveal the hidden connections that united them, an encounter that would change their lives forever. That night, while the medical team worked tirelessly to save Jack, a new chapter began to unfold, a chapter that promised to heal old wounds and discover the truth in the midst of chaos. And while Thomas made his initial incision, oblivious to the bond they shared, destiny slowly began to weave the fabric again, uniting them in ways that only the heart can understand. In the operating room, under the cold and clinical light that bathed the surgical table, Thomas moved with an almost choreographed precision. Each movement was meticulous, each decision a reflex. Years dedicated to the art of medicine had been called in urgently after another surgery, with little more than a brief report on the critical condition of his new patient, a young victim of a serious car accident. What Thomas did not know was that at that moment, he wasn't just a doctor saving a life. He was inadvertently saving a part of his own history that he thought was lost forever. Jack, unconscious and vulnerable under the careful attention of Thomas and his team, carried with him the key to a past that Thomas had tried to bury. While both lay in another room in stable condition, but still unconscious, oblivious to the unfolding drama and the central role her former love played in the fight for her son's life, Thomas felt strangely disturbed, an inexplicable sense that something deeper was at play. Every vein that sutured every tissue that it repaired seemed to carry an emotional weight that he couldn't understand. It was as if, on some subconscious level, he sensed the magnitude of the moment, a crossroads in time where past and present collided. The team he worked with was in concentrated silence, broken only by Thomas's brief instructions and the occasional beep of the monitors. The surgery was complex, requiring all of Thomas's knowledge and skill. But he was determined. There was a life in his hands, and he would do everything possible to save it. Hours later, when the last stitch was given and Jack was carefully transferred to the ICU, Thomas was left alone for a moment in the operating room, trying to understand the origin of that deep feeling of connection with his patient. He knew that saving lives was part of his daily routine, but something that night felt different, almost predestined. As Thomas finally left the operating room with his heart heavy with the emotion of a night of hard work, he inadvertently passed by the room where Sophia was being monitored. Two destinies so intricately linked, they still remained unaware of the invisible forces that brought them together. In the following days, as Jack slowly began the recovery process and Sophia returned to consciousness, the truth about their hidden connections remained veiled. However, Thomas's intervention, a medical action that saved Jack's life, had set them all on a path of discovery and revelation, a path that once traveled would change their lives in ways none of them could foresee. After the emotionally charged encounter with Sophia, Thomas found himself facing an abyss of unlived realities and possibilities that until then he had never considered. Confirmation that Jack, the young man whose life he fought to save, was, in fact, his son, unleashed an internal storm of guilt and regret. This revelation not only rewrote the story of his life, but also confronted him with the hard truth that while he continued his path in search of success and professional fulfillment, a part of himself remained unknown and neglected. In the following days, Thomas visited Jack with a regularity that went beyond medical duty. Each visit was an attempt to connect with the son he did not know he had. By watching Jack sleep or in moments of lucidity trying to engage in dialogue, Thomas felt like a stranger on the edge of a world that should be intimately his. Thomas's internal struggle was palpable. He reflected on how to start a relationship with Jack, how to enter the life of a young man who grew up without his presence, guidance, and love. The idea of revealing to Jack the truth about his paternity filled him with anxiety. How could he expect Jack to accept him after so much time? How could he forgive himself for years of absence, for moments that would never be recovered? Thomas wondered, his reflection in the bathroom mirror offering no answers, only reflecting the image of a man tormented by guilt. But guided by hope and determined not to let his past define his future, Thomas made the decision to open up to Jack to tell him about the mistakes, the choices, and the circumstances that led them to that moment. He knew that it would not be easy, that the road ahead would be full of challenges, and that Jack's acceptance was not guaranteed. However, he was willing to take every step necessary to say each difficult word, to appear vulnerable before the son he desperately wanted to know and love. On a sunny afternoon, while Jack showed signs of improvement and more moments of lucidity, Thomas found the courage to sit next to him, taking his hand in his. The contact, although shy and hesitant, was the first step of a journey that both of them would undertake together. "Jack," Thomas began, his voice trembling with emotion, "there is something I need to tell you about me, about you, about us. It is a story that has taken me a long time to understand and accept, but it is a story that we can continue together." The words that followed were the most difficult that Thomas had spoken, but also the most important. He spoke of decisions and consequences, of love and loss, of hope and redemption. He spoke of the past honestly, without omitting its failures, but he also looked towards the future with optimism, a future that, although uncertain, carried the promise of new beginnings and bonds strengthened by understanding and forgiveness. While Thomas shared his story, their joint story, Jack listened in silence, absorbing each word, each emotion. The revelation that the doctor who saved his life was, in reality, his father, left Jack stunned, navigating through a sea of mixed emotions. However, in the depths of his heart, a spark of hope began to shine. The possibility of a new relationship based on truth, respect, and above all, love. Thomas and Jack were just beginning a path full of challenges, but also opportunities to heal the wounds of the past, to build memories together, and to weave the ties of blood and heart that would unite them forever. In the days after the revelation, Thomas immersed himself in a sea of reflections on how to build a bridge to the heart of Jack, a bridge strong enough to support the weight of years of absence. Each gesture, each word, each encounter was impregnated with a mixture of caution and hope as he tried, step by step, to approach the son he barely knew. As Jack continued his recovery, Thomas made a point of being present, transforming his medical visits into moments of personal connection, sharing stories from his own childhood, his dreams and challenges, trying to find common ground where a father-son relationship could flourish. To Thomas's surprise and joy, Jack began to respond, initially with hesitation, but with a growing curiosity about the man who was his father. Sophia observed these encounters from afar, a whirlwind of mixed emotions assaulting her heart. She saw Thomas's sincere attempt to reconnect with Jack, but the shadows of the past lingered, whispering doubts and fears about Thomas's true intentions. The memory of her own pain from the separation that changed the course of her life kept her on guard, fearful that history could repeat itself, leaving her and Jack once again devastated. Thomas, conscious of Sophia's caution, knew that he not only had to regain his son's trust, but also assure Sophia that his intentions were genuine. He looked for ways to demonstrate his commitment, his willingness to be part of Jack's life, not only as a biological father, but also as someone who really cared. The opportunity arose when Jack showed interest in learning more about Thomas's profession, seeing it as an opportunity to strengthen their bond. Thomas arranged for Jack to accompany him in some activities at the hospital, adapted to his age and situation. This time together in Thomas's work environment gave them a new mutual perspective, opening the door to deeper and more meaningful conversations. However, it was evident that for this new relationship to flourish, the wounds of the past needed to be healed. Thomas planned a meeting with Sophia and Jack for a moment to speak openly about his fears, hopes, and dreams for the future. In that conversation, Thomas spoke not only as a father, trying to reconnect with his son, but also as a man who recognized his past, mistakes, and sought forgiveness from Sophia. "I made decisions that distanced me from you, and for that I will be eternally sorry. But I am here now, willing to do whatever is necessary to be the father that Jack deserves and the friend that you need," Thomas said, his voice full of emotion. Sophia, excited and curious, recognized the sincerity in Thomas's words. He knew that the road ahead would be difficult, full of challenges and learning. However, he also realized that Thomas' presence in Jack's life could provide a new dimension to his son's world, an opportunity for experiences and bonds that she alone could not provide. That meeting marked the beginning of a slow process of healing and redemption, a journey shared by Thomas, Sophia, and Jack, a path not without obstacles, but illuminated by the promise of a future where love and understanding could overcome the shadows of the past. As the truth about Jack's paternity came to light and Thomas strove to repair the ties broken by time, a new battle was forming on the horizon, one that would require him to confront not only the shadows of his personal past, but also the judgment of those around him. The revelation that Jack was his son, kept secret for so many years, resonated like a disturbing echo among family and friends, bringing with it an avalanche of opinions and judgments. Thomas was already consumed by guilt and the desire for redemption. He now found himself navigating a turbulent sea of skepticism and disapproval. His parents, with whom he always had a complex relationship marked by high expectations and poor communication, received the news with a mixture of surprise and disappointment. "How could you have allowed this to happen?" they questioned. "What are you planning to do to fix this now?" they asked, doubting his abilities to redeem himself for years of absence. Friends, on the other hand, varied in their reactions, from cautious support to disbelief and censure. "I never imagined you would be capable of abandoning your own son," commented some, words that, although whispered, found their way to Thomas, each one of them a blow to his already weakened self-esteem. Thomas knew he would face resistance, but the harshness of the judgments took him by surprise, making him question his own ability to change the narrative of his life. However, in the midst of doubt and turbulence, an unwavering determination began to form within him. He would not allow the past to define his future, nor would he let the opinions of others dictate the course of his actions. "I have changed," he stated, first to himself and then for the others, a declaration of his intentions to do things differently. This time, with Sophia and Jack, the situation was even more delicate. Sophia observed from afar, her heart like a mine field of hope and fear. She wanted to believe that Thomas had changed, that her desire to be part of Jack's life was genuine, but the scars from the past were deep, and the uncertainty about the future was a constant shadow in her thoughts. "Do you really think you can enter his life after so long and make a difference?" Sophia asked him. To Thomas, in a moment of shared vulnerability, Thomas faced the magnitude of his mistakes and the long road ahead. He did not offer empty promises, only a sincere commitment to try every day to be the father that Jack deserved and the partner that Sophia never had. "I know I have a lot to apologize for, and I may never be able to fully make up for the lost time," Thomas admitted. "But I'm here now, and I'm willing to do the work to learn, to grow for Jack, for you, for us." So, in the midst of the whirlwind of emotions, doubts, and judgments, Thomas took his first hesitant steps towards redemption, a journey full of uncertainties, but also of possibilities. Each gesture towards Jack, each sincere conversation with Sophia, and each confrontation with criticism were parts of his effort to reconstruct what had been lost, to create a future where the shadows from the past would no longer determine the path forward. Just when Thomas was beginning to feel that he was making progress reconnecting with Jack and rebuilding trust with Sophia, a new unexpected challenge arose, threatening the fragile stability that they had managed to establish. During a routine examination, initially a precaution after the accident, considered nothing more than a standard procedure, the doctors discovered a serious health condition in Sophia. The news fell like a bolt of lightning in an until then serene sky, casting shadows on the timid rays of sun that were beginning to penetrate their lives. Sophia, always the rock before the storm, suddenly found herself vulnerable, facing the prospect of an illness that not only threatened her own life, but also the promise of a future for the family that was just beginning to form. Thomas, upon receiving the news, felt the ground disappear beneath his feet. Losing Sophia so soon after having found her again was something he couldn't bear. Not now, he thought. Not when we had just begun to fix things. The cruel irony of fate offering him a second chance, only to threaten to withdraw it, immediately did not escape Jack's notice. Recovering physically and emotionally from the accident and the recent revelation about his father, he faced the news about his mother's condition with a mix of confusion and fear. Sophia was his world, his constant in a life that suddenly seemed to crumble at the edges. Determined not to let this new adversity overcome them, Thomas mobilized. Using his position and contacts at the hospital, he organized a consultation with specialists for Sophia, seeking opinions and treatment options. Every decision made, every path chosen, was made with a single goal in mind: ensuring that Sophia received the best possible care. Sophia, for her part, faced her diagnosis with courage that surprised even herself. The prospect of a battle for health, although terrifying, also brought clarity. Life was precious and fragile, and the moments with those she loved could not be wasted on fear and uncertainty. "We have to face this together," she told Thomas and Jack, an affirmation of her determination to fight not only for herself, but for the future of the family that was beginning to reconnect. This new challenge, although terrifying, served as a catalyst, forcing Thomas, Sophia, and Jack to recognize the depth of their ties and the importance of fighting together. The shadow of Sophia's illness, although threatening, also brought with it the possibility of redemption and renewal. It was a reminder of the strength found in shared vulnerability and mutual support. The battle that was coming would be arduous, but they would face it together. A family united not only by blood, but by love and the determination to overcome adversity side by side. With the discovery of Sophia's serious health condition, Thomas found himself facing a crusade that was not only professional, but deeply personal. He who had dedicated his life to medicine now faced the challenge of using all his knowledge and resources to combat the disease that threatened to take Sophia from their lives. The diagnosis served as a brutal reminder of human fragility, but also as an opportunity for Thomas to demonstrate his evolution not only as a doctor, but as a human being dedicated to finding the best treatment approach. Thomas immersed himself in research and consultations with specialists across the country. his determination fueled by the urgency of the situation. He organized meetings, discussed options, advanced treatment, and sought the most promising therapies, turning his concern and love into action. For Thomas, it was not just a medical duty, it was a personal mission to save the woman he never stopped loving and the mother of his son. Sophia, for her part, observed Thomas's tireless efforts with a mixture of admiration and surprise. Over the years, she had grown accustomed to depending only on herself to fight her own battles. Now, in the face of Thomas's unwavering dedication, she began to see in him not only the young man for whom she died years ago, but a man transformed by life, responsibility, and above all, by love. The journey was not easy. There were moments of despair and discouragement when the weight of the situation seemed unbearable. However, it was during those moments that the bond between Thomas and Sophia was strengthened, forged in the fire of shared adversities. Jack also played a crucial role, being a source of strength and hope for both, a living reminder of why they fought to preserve. Thomas's dedication eventually gave rise to a plan of promising treatment. It was a bold strategy, combining the latest therapies with a personalized approach that took into account not only Sophia's illness, but also her strength, bravery, and indomitable spirit. As the treatment progressed, signs of improvement began to appear, and with each small progress, it was celebrated as a monumental victory in Sophia's fight for life. And it was through that fight, of that tireless search for a cure, that Sophia saw the true change in Thomas. Far away were the shadows of the man who had left her years ago, replaced by the certainty of his love, his dedication, and his commitment not only to her health, but also to the future they could have together. Sophia's battle against the disease, although daunting, served to unite the family in a way that none of them imagined possible. In the face of adversity, they found strength in each other, a strength that transcended fear and despair. For Thomas, it was an opportunity to show that people can change, that the past does not have to define the future, and that sometimes love and dedication can, in fact, work miracles. As the treatment progressed, Sophia's signs of improvement became more and more evident, a light of hope in the midst of the darkness of uncertainty. Each step towards recovery was a testament to the careful diagnosis and meticulously crafted treatment plan. But more than that, it was a reflection of the power of hope, determination, and unbreakable love that now wove the newly reunited family into a solid fabric of mutual support. Sophia's recovery not only represented a victory over the disease, it was also a symbol of the emotional healing that was beginning to take place between her and Thomas. Thomas's tireless dedication, his constant presence at her side, showing a commitment that she never expected to see again, made the old wounds heal. Sophia, driven by compassion and recognition of the genuine change in Thomas, found the space in her heart to forgive. Forgiveness did not come as a moment of revelation, but as a series of small understandings, conversations at dusk, laughter shared in the midst of adversity, and gestures of care and concern that became common. Sophia saw in the man Thomas had become someone she could love again, not only for the past they shared, but for the person he proved to be in the present. For Jack, to accept Thomas as a father, it was a process that challenged his own insecurities and fears. The revelation of his father's identity had been an earthquake in his world. But upon observing the interaction between his parents and feeling Thomas's genuine effort to connect with him, Jack began to embrace the idea of a reunited family. Thomas spared no effort to demonstrate his love and commitment by sharing moments with Jack, teaching him not only about life, but also about the importance of understanding, forgiveness, and hope. The decision to start a family was not made overnight. It was the result of countless moments of shared vulnerability, challenges faced together, and small joys celebrated in unidad. Thomas, Sophia, and Jack, each in their own way, had to face their own demons, forgive each other's failures, and most importantly, forgive themselves. The day Sophia was declared completely recovered was not only a milestone in their battle against the disease, but also in the family's journey toward emotional healing and reunion. They knew the road ahead would still have its challenges, but now they would face them together as a family united by adversity and strengthened by love. Thomas learned that forgiveness was not just about accepting the other's apologies. It was about letting go of the past and looking to the future with hope. For Sophia, it was about seeing the transformation in Thomas and recognizing that people can change, that love can be rediscovered, and a new page can be written even in the oldest and dustiest books of their lives. So, with Sophia's complete recovery, they began to write the first chapters of this new page, marked not by pain and regret, but by the promise of better days, the joy of mutual company, and the love that against all odds had brought them together once again. 2 years had passed since Sophia won her battle against the disease, a period marked by transformations, growth, and a strengthening of ties that united Thomas, Sophia, and Jack. Life, with its unexpected turns, had finally brought the family to a safe harbor of love and union, celebrating each day as a precious gift. Now, on a sunny afternoon full of laughter and the singing of birds in the house of Thomas and Sophia, joy permeated the atmosphere, transcending the ordinary. Friends and family gathered, hugging and sharing stories, all there to celebrate the last miracle in the life of the family, the birth of twins, a girl and a boy, living symbols of the renewed love between Thomas and Sophia and the restored family unit. Sophia, with one of the babies in her arms and the other in the crib at her side, looked at Thomas and Jack, now a young man, with her heart overflowing with gratitude for the love and support that Thomas had shown, not only in his fight against the disease, but in every day since then. They had rekindled a love that she thought she had lost forever. Jack, in turn, had embraced his role as older brother with enthusiasm and tenderness, warming the hearts of all who saw him with their eyes. As Thomas watched his family, he felt a sense of fulfillment filling his soul. The path to get there had not been easy, marked by learning from mistakes, especially by a tireless desire to do things well. The twins, with their innocent smiles and curious looks, represented not only the continuation of his family, but also the promise of a future filled with love, hope, and happiness. The celebration was more than just the recognition of new lives coming into the world. It was a testament to the beauty of forgiveness and the resilience of family ties. Friends and family, some of whom had witnessed the challenges faced by Thomas, Sophia, and Jack, now shared in the joy of their triumph, a reminder that even in the darkest hours, light can find its way. As night fell with the stars beginning to shine in the sky, the family retired, the house filled with a calm feeling of contentment. Thomas and Sophia, with Jack at their side, looked at the sleeping twins, their hearts full of dreams for the future. They knew there would be challenges ahead, but they also knew that together they could face anything. The final chapter of their story was not an end, but a new beginning marked by a deep appreciation for the journey that had brought them there and by hope in the many chapters that were yet to come. At its core, it was a celebration of love, forgiveness, and the unbreakable strength of family, promising a future full of love and infinite possibilities.